Oshi no Ko is either my favorite or second favorite currently printing manga on any given day of the week, and I went into the adaptation's movie of a first episode with a lot of apprehension. Can you blame me? The last time one of my favorite manga got an anime, it was a stop watching after 3 minutes level of bad. They messed up the opening shot of Biscuit Hammer'd. That shouldn't even be possible. Trauma aside, I can say that I'm no longer concerned that Oshi no Ko's adaptation will be on that level. The first episode does a very good job of translating the manga panels to the screen, but the stuff I was really excited about was when the anime did interesting stuff, when interpreting those panels or the spaces between panels and its ideas in ways that anime as a medium is able to take better advantage of compared to manga. To that point, we're talking 2 scenes from Oshi no Ko's first episode that markedly elevate the source material by interpreting the manga in meaningful ways. And at the end, I'll point out a bunch of other small directional touches that are also great. But quickly, before we get into it, Jack?
Major spoiler warning.
For episode 1, aka through chapter 10 of Oshi no Ko. Thanks to Under the Scope for that, tweet #comebackjack at JackUTS. If we're taking a static medium like manga and adapting it, the obvious places to quote-unquote improve are in motion and music. So it's not surprising that the first live idol performance we watch is fantastic. It takes advantage of the medium in a way that really only animation can, visually speaking. But it's actually the second performance, the mini-live at around the 37-minute mark, that has better adaptational direction. Ai in the lead-in is emotionally dealing with having a Twitter account indicate that they're not a big fan because of her quote-unquote fake smile, and this colors her experience while performing by having it serve as a kind of filter between her and the fans that she's looking out of in a cool POV shot. And that's interesting because we're told by Ruby that these tickets are a lottery. The people here are presumably super fans. In fact, one of the really clever storyboarding tricks in this scene is this set of 4 cuts on our establishing shots, bringing the focus to this guy's fan that says Ai's fan for eternity by having it be the only thing moving, and then leading to the stroller with a location match and extra empty space on the right so you don't overlook them. But this one comment that strikes at one of Ai's points of unease becomes a barrier between her and her excited fan base. And when we cut to the audience point of view, we see that the barrier appears one-sided. There's no indication in the performance, at least compared to the first one, that she's going through her internal monologue about her view of her profession, which is another nice element about the POV shot from Ai on stage since we're getting in her head. It adds credence to the later conversations, or hell, even one of the first ones, about how this is a job about lying, including about your feelings. And further comparing the 2 performances, while the TV show has the best looking shot of the bunch for my money, the TV show performance is almost exactly a 50-50 split in screen time between Ai and the reverse shots of Aqua and the staff watching, and has Aqua's monologue to boot. That performance is about the effect Ai has on the viewer and the fans and the people watching her shine on stage, and this second one is the inverse. It's Ai's perspective on what she's doing and for whom she's doing it, and rightfully she dominates the screen and the audio for almost the entire run. There is, of course, one major exception to that, and it's after she states she's made up of lies, and then the lights in her eyes start to move, because that conclusion is going to be undermined by seeing Aqua and Ruby dancing. That addition of using the close-up to provide the visual counter in foreshadowing is brilliant. And while the decision to go freeze frame here is a huge miss in my opinion, you can't argue that this smile, unpracticed, organic, is the visual refutation to her "I'm only a liar" argument/concern. It's an extremely well-written scene, and I think the anime editions of the POV shot with the tweet overlaid and the lights in the eyes at the transition point, plus a stronger focus on Ai's performance when compared to the first performance, all further highlight the thematic takeaway from the sequence, while also feeding into Ai's desire to improve at her craft and grow her audience, which is the final shot in the scene. While she's not able to recognize in this moment that something she's worried about might be a lie is in fact a truth, she does unfortunately come to that realization in the next scene we'll be talking about, which is the thematic inclusion of Ai's character in this episode. Ai's death scene is without a doubt the place where the anime took the most liberty with the source, which isn't saying much, but I'd argue these changes are exclusively for the better. Gone are the flash forwards at the start of every chapter that slowly but surely foreshadowed Ai's passing, replaced with the occasional peek at the stalker and the dripping intrepidation voiceover lines about paying the price for all the lines someday. And that, of course, is the scene immediately before this one. I think it helps to paint what's about to happen as far more of a surprise than how the manga paces out the foreshadowing. The montage over this soft piano melody is incredibly effective. It's narrative shorthand for, oh, she's about to die, while delaying the certainty of that, and also the life flashing before your eyes cliche, which in this case is used to show exclusively Ai's life with the twins, suggesting that these were the moments of her life that she is the most fond of, which cleanly builds into the conclusion of this scene. For my money, this shot is the best one of the episode. Aqua's view of the scene really gives the amount of blood context from his distance. The spin move is impressive and looks great, and any doubt about how deadly this is whisked away in an instant. In the manga, the stalker's rant is intercut with Ai's internal responses, which have been removed here in the anime. It allows the stalker's derangement to be played up with the hyper close-ups and the wild motion both of the camera and the individual within the frame, contrasted with the stable shots of Ai protecting Aqua. More visual proof of something she'll state explicitly at the end of this scene, and because thematically everything Ai thinks in response is clear in what she actually says in a moment or has done to this point, which culminates in the line, Throughout this episode, there have been a lot of close-ups on Ai's eyes. So much of the storyboarding and shot selection is designed to draw you to them. They are bright, colorful, and often dead-centered, but these close-ups in this sequence are another level of intimate. These are, after all, the final words to her children. The choice to frame away from the eyes and then use them in incredibly tight frames to show pain and sadness, and of course the light leaving them entirely, is a powerful visual punch in the gut. And my favorite inclusion in this sequence is the first star in the sky imagery, keyed up at the start of this episode, referenced again in the montage, and now once again shown here. Aqua's reason for living, given metaphoric shape, gone. And for Ai, a character who concluded earlier that she could not distinguish her real feelings from her lies, to have that certainty upon saying to her children, something that was obvious from her actions but never represented in words, since that was the medium by which all of her lies were told. To have this moment of candor at the end as the conclusion to her life, it's just good. It's just damn good. Some stray thoughts and other nice directional touches. I think the fact that Ai remembers her stalker's name is quite interesting, because she says early on that she's bad at remembering names and faces, except for talented people, and then gets Saito's name wrong. I would say this is a joke, except she mixes up Aqua and Ruby as well in this moment, and so we're kind of weirdly left to conclude that she was so touched by the star sand that he gave her that she remembered him. The star sand is also cleverly implemented as a cut from the stalker to Ai's apartment at around the 25-minute mark, a nice bit of foreshadowing there. Another small choice that I love is when all of the characters are being introduced, they get these fun backgrounds and pop-outs, except for Ruby, because her real introduction is after the first performance when we learn that she's also been reincarnated and her name says Dummy instead. And speaking of Ruby, when she's learning how to dance and struggling with her past life, they use Serena's voice for the VO, but once she's accepted her new body, they cut to Ruby's voice to reinforce her new reality and the opportunities she has because of it, before blending the two for this line in a nice unification of these two halves who are now made whole by this life. The crows that fly up upon Sensei's death and their cry during the reincarnation are not only a small treat for manga readers, they're also incorporated in the inky stylized shot where Aqua determines his quest for revenge. He's been metaphorically given new life in his desire for his father's death. And I was incredibly impressed at how the anime adaptation captured Ai. It was like they had pulled the version I had read on the page directly onto the screen, and I have nothing but praise for Rie Takahashi's performance. It's almost eerie how perfect it is. If this episode is any indication of the rest of the season, I think we're in perfectly fine hands. I would love Hiramaki Daisuke and the team to take even bigger swings though, like in the I am Amaterasu scene, because while the manga takes great advantage of black text panels and a striking frame wherein Ruby has seemingly endless authority with her pose and positioning, the anime kind of just pans its way through the shots, and while it cleverly adds the LED light in the background, it doesn't have the same oomph to it. More inspired interpretation of the source to really make this adaptation stand out from the manga would be great, but when you have a source as good as Oshi no Ko, all you have to do is not fuck it up. And this first episode gives me some security that they won't. Thanks for watching, and hey, I'll see you next week.